February 18th, 2021. Arctic Circle, 200 miles north of Norway. 0300 hours. The thermometer reads -40 Celsius. At this temperature, exposed skin freezes in minutes. Metal becomes brittle. Weapons malfunction. The human body begins shutting down non-essential functions just to survive. And in this frozen hell, 15 Special Forces operators are about to face the fight of their lives. The mission was supposed to be reconnaissance. Intelligence indicated illegal military activity at an abandoned Cold War research station. Russian mercenaries establishing a covert base in the Arctic. With global warming opening new shipping routes and resource claims, the Arctic has become the next strategic battleground. The 15-man team was inserted by submarine 3 days ago. Norwegian Special Forces, British SAS, and American Navy SEALs. An international coalition operating in one of the most hostile environments on Earth. Their orders: observe, document, and report. Do not engage. But plans change when you discover the mercenaries aren't just establishing a base. They're preparing to seize control of an unmanned early warning radar station 50 kilometers away. If they succeed, they'll create a blind spot in NATO's northern defenses. Russian aircraft and submarines could operate undetected. The strategic implications are catastrophic. At 0400 hours, the team commander makes the hardest decision of his career. They can't wait for reinforcements. The mercenaries will reach the radar station in 12 hours. They can't call in an airstrike. The weather has grounded all aircraft. They have one option. 15 men must stop 300 mercenaries in an Arctic environment that kills the unprepared in hours. This is Operation Frost Hammer, the most brutal special operations mission ever conducted in Arctic conditions. A battle where the enemy isn't just armed men. It's the cold, the darkness, and a landscape that offers no mercy. The team leader is a Norwegian Special Forces captain, codename Viking. 20 years of Arctic warfare experience. He knows this environment like most people know their hometown. He knows how to survive it, how to fight in it, how to kill in it. His second-in-command is a British SAS major, ICE, veteran of operations in Afghanistan, Iraq, and Africa. But the Arctic is new to him. The cold is an enemy he's never faced before. The American contingent is led by a Navy SEAL senior chief, Frost, trained in cold weather operations, but never tested like this. Never at -40. Never for multiple days. Never while fighting an enemy that outnumbers you 20-1. The plan is desperate but simple. The mercenaries are moving a supply convoy from their base to the radar station. 20 vehicles, 300 men. Taking a route through a narrow valley, the only passable terrain for wheeled vehicles. We hit them in the valley, Viking explains, his breath crystallizing in the air. Create an avalanche, block their route, force them to dismount and advance on foot. In this cold, that becomes a death sentence for anyone not properly equipped. ICE asks, and if they are properly equipped, then we fight them. 15 against 300. In the dark, in the cold. On ground, we choose. The odds are insane. But in the Arctic, terrain and weather can be deadlier than bullets. The Special Forces operators know how to use that. The mercenaries, mostly recruited from warmer climates, don't. At 0800 hours, the team moves into position. They've been traveling for 4 hours through the darkness, navigating by GPS and night vision. The sun won't rise for another 2 hours. This close to the Arctic Circle in winter, there are only a few hours of twilight each day. They reach the valley at 1000 hours. The team splits into 3 groups. Viking leads the primary assault element. 6 operators positioned on the high ground, overlooking the convoy route. ICE commands the demo team. 4 operators with enough explosives to bring down a mountain. Frost leads the reserve element. 5 operators positioned to intercept any mercenaries who break through. At 1100 hours, they hear the convoy. Diesel engines struggling in the cold. 20 military trucks moving slowly through the snow. 300 mercenaries who have no idea what's about to happen. Viking waits until the convoy is in the perfect position, the narrowest part of the valley, steep slopes on both sides. Then he gives the command. Execute. Ice's team detonates charges placed on the mountainside. The explosion is massive. Tons of snow and ice cascade down the slope. The avalanche hits the convoy like a tidal wave. Trucks are buried, overturned, crushed. Half the convoy is destroyed in seconds. 150 mercenaries are killed or trapped under tons of snow. The survivors bail out of their vehicles, trying to understand what just happened. Then Viking's element opens fire, suppressed rifles from elevated positions. The mercenaries can't see where the shots are coming from. Men fall. Others scramble for cover behind disabled vehicles. Commanders try to organize a response, but the chaos is total. Would you volunteer for a mission with 5% survival rate? Comment yes or no. The surviving mercenary commander is experienced. He quickly realizes they're under attack from the high ground and coordinates a response. Heavy machine guns open up, raking the positions where Viking's team is hidden. RPG rounds explode against the rocks. Pull back! Alternate positions! Viking orders. The operators fall back 200 meters and re-engage from new positions. This is Arctic warfare. You never stay in one place. You hit and move. Keep the enemy off balance. But the mercenaries adapt. They've regrouped into a defensive formation, set up machine gun positions, and they're calling for reinforcements from their base. Another 150 men who will arrive in approximately 2 hours. Viking checks his watch. They've been engaged for 20 minutes. They've reduced the enemy force from 300 to roughly 150 effective fighters. But they're low on ammunition, and the temperature is dropping. Minus 45 Celsius now. Weapons are starting to malfunction from the extreme cold. We can't sustain a firefight, Ice reports. Weapon systems are freezing. We need to break contact. Negative. If we pull back, they'll reach the radar station. We hold here. Frost adds his assessment. Chief, my element has lost communications with 2 operators. I think they're experiencing hypothermia. We've been stationary in defensive positions for 40 minutes. At these temperatures, that's the limit. Viking makes a decision that will define the entire operation. They can't win a conventional fight. They're outgunned, outnumbered, and the environment is killing them as surely as enemy fire. We change tactics, small unit actions. Hit and fade. Use the terrain. Make them chase us. In this cold, anyone who pursues us dies. The 15 operators split into 5 3-man teams. Each team will engage the mercenaries independently, then disappear into the Arctic wilderness. Force the enemy to split up, to chase phantoms through a frozen wasteland, to exhaust themselves fighting the cold while trying to fight the operators. It's guerrilla warfare in the most extreme environment on Earth. Team 1, Viking's element, engages from the north, fires a few shots, kills 3 mercenaries, then vanishes into the darkness. The mercenaries pursue. After 500 meters, 2 of them collapse from exhaustion and cold. The others turn back. Team 2, Ice's element, hits from the east. Detonates a small explosive device near a mercenary position, creating panic. When the mercenaries respond, the SAS operators are already gone. But they've led the mercenaries away from their vehicles, away from shelter. 3 more mercenaries succumb to hypothermia. Team 3, Frost's element, conducts a different mission. They circle around to the convoy wreckage and plant demolition charges on the vehicles. At 1300 hours, the charges detonate. Fuel tanks explode. Ammunition cooks off. The entire convoy becomes an inferno. The mercenaries are now stranded. No vehicles, no shelter, in minus 45-degree weather with darkness falling. Their commander realizes the situation. He's lost half his force. His convoy is destroyed. His men are freezing, and enemy special forces are hunting them. He makes the only rational decision: retreat to the base. But it's 15 kilometers back. In the Arctic, In the dark, with special forces harassing them every step of the way, the retreat becomes a nightmare. The mercenaries move in a defensive column, but the special forces teams are everywhere. Shots from the darkness, explosions, confusion, and the constant killing cold. Mercenaries start dropping from hypothermia. Their equipment wasn't designed for -45 degrees. Their clothing is inadequate. Their training didn't prepare them for this. At 1500 hours, the sun sets. Complete darkness. The temperature drops to -48 Celsius. Vikings teams have thermal imaging, night vision, equipment designed for Arctic operations. They can see the mercenaries clearly, heat signatures in the cold. The mercenaries can see nothing. They're stumbling through darkness, shooting at shadows, dying from cold. By 1700 hours, the mercenary force has been reduced to approximately 80 effective fighters. The rest are dead, incapacitated by hypothermia, or scattered in the darkness. The mercenary commander sends out a distress call. He needs immediate extraction. His force is combat ineffective, but the response is devastating. Weather has grounded all helicopters. No extraction possible for at least 12 hours. 12 hours in -48-degree weather, with enemy forces hunting them. It's a death sentence. At 1800 hours, the remaining mercenaries fortify a position using wreckage from the convoy. They build fires, which makes them easy targets for thermal imaging. They huddle together for warmth, which makes them vulnerable to explosives. Vikings teams surround the position at 300 meters. They don't assault. They just wait. Let the cold do the work. By 2100 hours, mercenaries are trying to surrender. They're waving white flags, shouting in Russian and English. But there's a problem. The special forces can't take prisoners. Not here. Not in these conditions. They don't have the capability to guard, feed, or evacuate 80 prisoners in the Arctic. Viking makes the hardest call of his career. Broadcast on all frequencies. Tell them to stay in their position. Keep their fires burning. Don't pursue us. At first light, rescue helicopters will come for them. But if they try to advance on the radar station, we will engage. It's a mercy the mercenaries don't deserve. But it's what separates professional soldiers from murderers. The message is broadcast. The mercenaries, cold, exhausted, defeated, accept the terms. They stay in their position. The special forces pull back. At 600 hours the next morning, as promised, rescue helicopters arrive. They find 47 mercenaries alive, 33 dead from hypothermia and combat wounds. The rest scattered in the Arctic, most of them dead. The 15 Special Forces operators are extracted by submarine, all alive, 3 with frostbite, 2 with minor injuries from falling on ice, but alive and mission complete. The radar station was never compromised. The mercenary base was raided by Norwegian forces once the weather cleared. The entire operation was shut down. This is what true heroism looks like. Hit like if you agree. The after-action report made for sobering reading. Enemy force, 300 mercenaries. Friendly force, 15 Special Forces operators. Enemy casualties, 253 killed or wounded. Friendly casualties, 0 killed, 5 wounded. Cause of most enemy casualties, hypothermia and exposure. Duration, 18 hours. Temperature, -40 to -48 Celsius. Outcome, decisive friendly victory. Military analysts called it the most one-sided special operations victory in modern warfare. But the operators knew the truth. They didn't win because they were better fighters. They won because they understood the environment, and the enemy didn't. Viking later described it. The Arctic doesn't care about your rank, your weapons, or your numbers. It only cares if you're prepared. Those mercenaries weren't. They thought they could operate in the Arctic like they operated in Syria or Africa. They were wrong. The cold killed more of them than we did. Ice reflected on the experience. I fought in deserts where 50 degrees Celsius felt like hell. The Arctic is the opposite, -48 degrees, but it's the same principle. The environment is a weapon. You either master it, or it kills you. Frost summed it up from the American perspective. SEALs train for cold water, hypothermia, survival in extreme conditions. But training and reality are different. That operation pushed every one of us to our limits. Another hour out there, and we'd have started losing people to the cold, too. These soldiers changed history. Share this story to honor them. The geopolitical implications were significant. Russia denied any connection to the mercenaries, but the message was clear. Arctic incursions would be met with force. NATO demonstrated it had the capability and will to operate in extreme Arctic conditions. The 15 operators were decorated by their respective nations. Norway awarded its highest military honor. Britain gave gallantry medals. The United States recognized its SEALs with Navy crosses. But the operators themselves don't talk much about the mission. It's classified. And the men who died, even though they were mercenaries, died badly. Freezing to death in the Arctic darkness is a terrible way to go. One operator, speaking anonymously years later, said, "We did what we had to do, stopped a strategic threat, protected our nations. But I still think about those mercenaries freezing in the dark. War is ugly. Arctic warfare is uglier." The mission also revolutionized Arctic warfare doctrine. Military forces around the world studied Operation Frosthammer. Proper Arctic equipment is essential, not optional. Small unit tactics are more effective than large formations in extreme cold. The environment can be weaponized against unprepared enemies. Psychological warfare is amplified in Arctic conditions. Survival skills matter as much as combat skills. Today, the valley where the battle occurred is empty. Snow covers any evidence of what happened. The wreckage has been removed. Nature has reclaimed the battlefield. But in military academies, the story is told. 15 operators, 300 mercenaries, Arctic conditions, and a victory that proved courage, training, and environmental mastery can overcome any numerical disadvantage. The Arctic is heating up, literally and strategically. New shipping routes, resource claims, military positioning. The region that was frozen and forgotten during the Cold War is becoming a new frontier of global competition. And when nations look at Arctic operations, they remember Operation Frosthammer. They remember what happens when you send forces into that environment unprepared. They remember that the Arctic doesn't forgive mistakes. Those 15 operators spent 18 hours in -40-degree weather, fighting an enemy army while the environment tried to kill them both. They survived because they were the best trained, best equipped, and most professional warriors on the battlefield. The mercenaries died because they weren't. It's that simple and that brutal. Operation Frosthammer. February 18th to 19th, 2021. 15 Special Forces operators, 300 mercenaries, the Arctic Circle, and a battle that proved sometimes the deadliest weapon isn't a gun, it's the cold. Subscribe to Untold War Stories Official to discover more forgotten heroes.